here with Kyler Banks of the Minnesota Crookston football team, just trying to tell your story a little bit. I know a big thing about your family and yourself is just harness racing. Just kind of walk us through how your family got started. I know it was kind of your grandfather that introduced it to the family. What was the background there, and just how did everything come about with harness racing?
So how my family kind of got started with harness racing was my grandpa, instead of buying a motorcycle, he ended up buying a horse for $500. So, and her name was Tennessee Myrtle. And then that kind of just spiraled into the rest of the family getting into it. So his dad, Eldridge, then got into it and helped him with the horse and everything. And then his three brothers, John, Ron, and Larry, then also got into harness racing, and it's just been a part of our life ever since then. He's my grandpa Craig has been racing for 49 years full time now, and he loves every bit of it. Never takes a day off, and he's now recently helping out with our cousin, my cousins, his great nephews, with their horses and just getting them ready for every week for their races.
Absolutely. Just how much of your family is still involved with it? It sounds like a lot of your family is, and just yeah, walk us through that and what that looks like. Just I'm sure it's a big family affair.
Oh yeah, it's I come from a big family too, so definitely a big family affair, like you said. My grandpa still does it, and then his brother Ron, he still owns a couple horses, but then has uh, cousins and his great nephews that my grandpa works with. They train them and get them ready every week. He was actually recently inducted into the Harness Racing Hall of Fame, and so then we have another cousin's, should be Mary,
Mm-hmm.
the sister. Her son Scott still races horses with his son, so they still have horses. And then my dad will announce races every once in a while, and he still is involved with helping out every once in a while. And my cousin Mitch and his brother Carrie, those are two sons of Ron. They still help out every once in a while. They go to the races. They love seeing their dad happy watching and seeing his horses win.
What was your first exposure to just harness racing? It sounds like it probably came at a pretty young age, and just talk about some of your favorite memories that you've had involved with being around it.
I was involved since pretty much the day I could leave the hospital that summer. My parents brought me to Wachir and just had me around the horses ever since then. Some of my favorite memories have to be with my siblings at the small town county fairs and stuff like that, when we would actually pull each other on one of the carts around, and we take turns of who was pulling each other and just having fun there. Another great memory was I spent a month with my grandpa Craig when he lived in Illinois out on his farm, and just around the horses every day. Could go right up on the pasture, and there was a horse charging Yankee that my dad and grandpa always said that was my horse. They convinced me that his birthday was the same day as mine and everything, same age. So, but I could just go up to him in the pasture, hop right up on his back, and just ride. It was fun. A lot of great memories.
What all, just for people that don't understand harness racing, what all goes into harness racing and what kind of sets it apart from anything else? I was just reading about it quite a bit here over the last 24 hours and learned a little bit about it, but I know that I don't know everything that goes into it.
And I don't know as much as my grandpa and my great uncle do, but so with harness racing, there's standard bred and thoroughbred. We do standard bred, so that's with the cart, and then within that class, I guess there is a trotters and pacers. So those are just two different running styles, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
for the horse, and and different states have different, I guess, laws when it comes to harness racing and whether or not you can have a casino in there or slots and stuff like that. Um, so that actually helps out a lot with the purse money that goes into the races and the incentive to be a harness racer. There's a lot of different classes that they have within harness racing. There's non-owners 1, 2, there's mares, geldings, a lot of different aspects in all of the harness racing world. A lot of it is training the horses every day and just keeping them well fed, their stalls clean, making sure they get some time out in the pasture, just kind of relax for them, take them, time to cool down, get away from the running, kind of like athletes, I guess. So, and no, there's a lot of different things that we put on the horses that they can wear. Some horses are more fidgety or frightened easily, so some harness racers put like hoods over them, or a hood not covering the eyes, but they just have cups on the side so they can't see the stands or other horses and stuff. And then you can also put weights on different hooves of the horses. So if a horse has a tendency to kind of strike the back of their other leg, you can put a weight on that foot so it doesn't go up as far, just to help save your horse wear and tear.
What are the big places that people do harness racing around here? You talked about the county fairs. Is there a track in Minnesota or a couple tracks that are very popular with harness racing?
Yeah, actually in Minnesota we have 2 extremely nice tracks. There's Canterbury and Running Aces. We mostly race at Running Aces, just because that's where they are specifically standard bred, so that's where we really only race there. But yeah, otherwise county fairs, town fairs, all throughout Minnesota. And then we actually used to race a lot down in Des Moines, Iowa at Prairie Meadows. But since they got rid of harness racing and just kept the casino, haven't been able to race there since. But we still travel across the country and race at different places.
That's awesome. What has been, or just being around harness racing and just the competitive aspect and just everything that goes into it, just taught you just in life, and then just from a competitive standpoint in sports, obviously being involved in football too, and just some of the lessons that you've taken from that?
It's actually taught me a lot, like kind of like with people. Everyone's got a story, everyone's got a background, and how they got into harness racing is no story is the same, and it's awesome to hear. Never judge a book by its cover either. That being around harness racers, that taught me at a really young age about that, because there would be some kind of goofy looking people, I guess, kind of scary at a young age, but they were some of the nicest people I could have ever met. And never be afraid to help someone out in time of need. The harness racing community is a very close-knit group, and everyone looks out for each other, tries to help each other out. But out on the track, it's fair game. There is no easy coasts for the wind, I guess. It's right out of the gate. There's a lot of bumping with the carts and getting real close to the guy ahead of you with your horse, maybe sometimes bumping him in the back of the head. Not entirely on purpose, I guess, but it's taught me a lot, and I wouldn't change a day.
Just switching over more specifically to football now, just talk a little bit about your story. You came here as a defensive back, transitioned over to receiver, a spot you had played in high school, but just how was that transition? And now you're kind of running as a slot back in a different system than what you originally came in with. Just, yeah, how has that been and how have you enjoyed it?
It's been good. I've actually really enjoyed it. I'm grateful I came from a small town where I was able to play offense and defense there. So, um, for some other guys, it might be more of a challenge. But since I've had that background with playing both ways, it's been pretty easy for me. The coaches have been amazing with getting me transitioned from offense to defense last year, and I've enjoyed every second of it. I love defense, but also I love offense. So it's great to see both sides of the ball.
You had a touchdown this season. Yeah, also had a touchdown last year, but it was what, special teams.
Yep.
But just how was it getting your first offensive touchdown as a college athlete?
It felt great. Definitely, if you watch it, it looks like I wasn't grateful for being there or whatever. But I've always been taught act like you've been there. But on the inside, I was happy as heck. And then after the game, my parents told me, the whole town was proud of me, and they sent me a photo from my hometown paper. Actually, they did a story, a little article on that about how I scored and
That's awesome.
stuff like that. So it's been awesome.
I know your family also had some other adversity just with your parents' home being foreclosed on. Just talk a little bit about that and just how that's taught you just how to deal with adversity and get through situations. Because obviously, just here at Minnesota Crookston and going forward in life, it's going to be something everyone deals with is adversity, and just the big part is how do you come out of it and do you grow from it?
Yeah, so like you said, our house got foreclosed on. And a little background to that, it was my parents admitted to me and my two siblings that they weren't the smartest with their money, so they also didn't want to all of a sudden just kind of stop giving us the things to help make our childhood memorable and loving one. So they figured, time with the family and experience over money, and I'm grateful that they did that because they've given so much for me and my siblings that I don't think I'll ever be able to repay them. And from having to live with my grandma for a few months to an apartment building that we actually had a family member own, so that helped us out a lot. And then finally living in the house that we're at now, it's taught me a lot about how much family means, and how much money. Well, that money really doesn't mean everything. It's about times and experiences with people that you love and just enjoy being around.
On that note, just getting back kind of to the harness racing a little bit too, like how much does that drive your want to kind of get back to that area and be around family and just be around the harness racing after you do get the degree here in a couple years here?
It actually kind of drives me a lot. It'd be really cool to start seeing. Not a lot of people really know about harness racing. If you're not kind of born into it or kind of shown it, a lot of people kind of have no idea what it is for our style of harness racing. A lot of people know of thoroughbred just because of the Triple Crown and a lot of those horses, but they don't really know standardbred. So I kind of want to market harness racing more once I graduate, and because growing up with horses early in my childhood and my whole life, I love horses, and hopefully I can own a couple when I'm older and maybe not race them, but at least train them or have them race.
What is your major and what do you want to do once you do get that degree?
So my major is sports and rec management. So I kind of want to work in a marketing department or a marketing firm for some company or work with different companies. So I think if I definitely kind of go down more so that avenue, I could hopefully get a job with Running Aces and help them market more and help reach a broader community.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Kyler, for sharing your story.
Thank you.